So last week we talked about you mind if I ask you about the Jon Jones story?
Yeah, let's do it.
So last week we kind of teased this story of Rich's. So I guess as a backdrop, from what I understand, a lot of people think that Jon Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time. And I've just heard people say this as I'm watching. Like, I think Joe Rogan said it several times. Commentators in the UFC, they think he's like the greatest UFC fighter of all time. I'm sure you have your own opinions on this.
It would be hard to dispute, though.
Right. And so that's kind of the backdrop. He's acclaimed as one of the greatest fighters of all time, if not the greatest. But you know Jon pretty well. You're one of the coaches at the gym he trained at.
Yeah.
Will you tell us that story that we teased last week?
I know Jon to an extent. I don't know Jon on a level that I would like to mentally, right? To know somebody is a whole conversation in itself, right?
Sure.
I know you because I grapple with you because I get to see who you really are. I taught at Greg Jackson's, and there's 2 classes at this time. I don't know how they do it now, but at Greg's there was 2 classes: heavyweights trained and then lighter weights trained, right?
Okay.
And we kind of went back to back, and sometimes when the lighter weights would show up, some of the heavyweights would stick around, right? The heavier guys.
Jon's a heavyweight? How big?
Jon is trying to transition to heavyweight, but
currently,
yeah. I think I had read that he's like 265 or something wild
right
from
now?
His manager. Yeah.
Gosh.
Something huge. I think that's what it was, but we'll have to double check that.
Sure.
And it should be noted that Jon's not just, how can I say it? You know who Jon's brothers are, right?
I don't know. I don't know much about him.
Jon's family, not only is Jon could be considered the best MMA fighter of all time or the best combat sports fighter of all time, but his family could be considered the greatest athletic family in the history of sports.
Really?
Yeah. Just like 2 weeks ago, Jon's brother got like a huge amount of sacks for the NFL, like broke a record or tied a major record.
What team does he play for?
Right now, I think, I don't watch football too much.
Dude, I don't either.
But like, so both of his brothers played in the NFL, and I know one of them still does, and he's one of the best players in the end. Like, he'll make the Pro Bowl. Like, these dudes are amazing athletes. Jon's families could be considered one of the most athletic families ever. Okay, both his brothers played in the NFL, and Jon's arguably the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Right? Like, that's a big deal, man. Could you imagine, like, yeah, my brothers play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on now. So I think that should be noted. But I don't know. So anyhow, and then I taught for Greg Jackson. Later on, he would have classes for sometimes the amateurs or sometimes just different classes that he had going on. And I would teach those classes. Sometimes I taught the pro fighters as well. So I got the opportunity to grapple with Jon Jones one day, and there was a little setup to it because the heavyweights had just finished and the lightweights were going. And I'm pretty confident in my grappling. I believe in my grappling, and others do as well. But we were getting ready. Greg, the structure is Greg teaches for 15 minutes, kind of goes over some technique. And then from there, we often would get with a partner and do what's called live grappling. On this particular day, it was live grappling, and he wanted us to be like light on the strikes, heavy on the grappling.
Okay.
And we all started to partner up, and out of nowhere, Jon Jones stands up and he says, "Who wants to get tapped out today? Like, which one of you guys is ready to get tapped out?" And people are partnering up, and I was kind of the odd man out. Sometimes you have odd numbers, right? And Jon says it again. "Who wants to get tapped out today?" So of course I guess it's me, Jon. And maybe I didn't say I guess. Maybe I was a little excited. Maybe I was like, yeah, right here, man. Like,
yeah,
let's go.
No,
right?
you probably.
I'm sure I was.
We're pretty excited.
And Jon had recognized that I sounded a little confident, and I think I don't know what he was thinking, but he took it up a notch. He said, "Okay, I'm gonna play a game with you." He said, "How do you want me to tap you?" And I thought, wow, all right, that's kind of like raising the stakes, right? And I said,
"You don't back down from a challenge ever."
Ever. I said, "Jon, I'll do you one better." I said, "Have you ever played pool?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "I played jiu-jitsu like pool. You got to call your shot before, and I'll even give you a countdown."
Okay.
I'll even give you a countdown. It just so happened that Jon Jones was on his back, so I was starting in his guard. Okay. John lies down, the round starts, and I start to give him a countdown: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And I grab his left foot, and I toe hold him. I tap him out, right?
And you had called it before.
And I said toe hold.
Yeah.
Left foot in 10 seconds. Boom, catch it.
Okay.
And
so he taps.
And you could see he's got
toe hold's pretty bad.
A toe hold, it's not too bad. I mean,
it's not like a heel hook.
No, it's not like a heel hook. It would break your toe, and then you would kind of get some ankle dislocation.
So what is it? What is, you're trying to bend the toe the opposite way that it's supposed to?
So
on
you're
the ankle?
taking the idea, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this. I told my brother-in-law. Anyhow, I have a doctor that does MRIs while I'm holding a joint or a ligament or a move, and he tells me exactly what's happening, so I know how to properly break it.
I guess it's fine if you don't say who it is, right? So you go, wait, hold on,
dude,
so
you know me.
You're like the surgeon of all things like jujitsu. So you go take a joint, ligament, bone, whatever, and you put it in the stressed. So there's the stressed position, and then you have a doctor do an MRI on it, so he can tell you what's happening in the joint. Yeah,
and how to properly to break it.
To break it.
Because with a toe hold, the doctor said there's 3 ligaments. There's ligament here, ligament here, ligament here. He said the first one, in most like combat sport athletes or even athletes, that first ligament's already broken anyways.
Really?
Yeah, he said because of the movement of our ankle.
So do you just not need it?
You just don't need it.
It's not like a ACL or...
It's not like an ACL. He says like, you don't need it. He said, so if you angle it here and it doesn't go, what you want to do is twist it around. So he goes, and then the second one will pop. And then the third one. And then after the third one, this toe, your small toe, will come all the way up. And I've done this in a tournament. I did this in a tournament in Atlanta where I broke the guy's ankle and it went whoosh, all the way up here. And when ankles do that, it's quite wild because it doesn't.
Dang, dude.
You almost want to have that look, but you don't, because it just looks like rubber. Like the human body's amazing, like, right? What? It looks like gummy.
There's nothing even holding it there anymore.
Nothing at all. It goes, and then you let it go and it goes, and it goes right back.
Dude, that's wild.
Okay, so I catch John in this. Boom, he taps out.
Okay,
and he's kind of fired up, like, oh, all right, I bet you can't do that again. I bet you I can do it again, right? Right foot, ready for the countdown.
Right
10,
foot, toe
9,
hold.
8.
Yeah.
Right foot, toe hold. Right at the end of 10 seconds.
You were in his guard again.
I was in his guard again. And keep in mind, and I'll say this because this is the truth, meaning a long-legged person with a leg lock going, and then a leg lock specialist going against him, which I am, which really means the odds were really stacked in my favor in this. Okay, so like I have these long, skinny legs, and dude, I'm a leg lock guy. Like this is like
because John's legs are like.
This is truly like
he's lanky.
This is like dessert for me, right? Like I know I'm going to beat you from this position. Okay.
So you took this is keep going, but because I want to dissect that. That's actually like really fascinating. Yeah.
So I don't remember if this happened 4 times or if it happened 2, but regardless, John stands up and he chucks his mouthpiece across the gym and he's fired up, right? And in this isn't a bunch of nobodies, these are professional athletes, right? So I vividly remember guys like Damasio Page, who fought in the UFC, he fought in the WEC, heavy puncher, fought in the Tap Out show. Dude, this dude's loud, and he's a friend that I've known since high school, and a guy I've known since high school. He starts standing up, loving it, laughing, right? He's like, oh, Rich is working you. Like, people are starting to get in John's face, right? Greg Jackson's just sitting in the corner. He's not doing nothing, right? John's pissed, throws it. Well, I bet you, Rich, you can't hold me down for 30 seconds. I bet you can't hold me down for 15 seconds. I look at him dead in his eye. I said, John, I bet you I sub you before 15 seconds is up. He says, it's like that, huh? I said, it's like that. He got back down in his guard. 10 seconds. Tapped him out, dude. This dude, I've never, ever in my life seen somebody react this way to being submitted. Stormed out of the gym. And I mean stormed out of the gym, okay? This guy leaves. Next day, right? Next day, I'm at the front desk at Greg's. I don't know. I was at the front desk. John walks in. And this dude, what's up, John? He goes, not today, not today. He walks away. A couple days go by, this dude, and I started to notice that he started to ignore me.
It's like not even acknowledging.
Not even acknowledge me. And then I'm like, wait, what the heck? Like, this dude's not even acknowledging I'm in the room ever. Like, dude, I started to notice, like, his mentality was like, not only in his mind did it not happen, but like I didn't exist as a person. Like, completely ignoring me, dude. In 1 year, or I guess a couple months after that, I was in the gym in the afternoon, kind of off hours, doing a session with Diego Sanchez. He had a fight coming up.
Sure.
And Jon Jones walks in. I remember Jon walking in and he came and watched me and Diego grapple a little bit. And I remember he was kind of watching, and I didn't have a problem. Watch all you want, man. Like, your legs are not getting any shorter in this scenario. Like, we go from that position, same thing's gonna happen. Anyhow, after we finished up, I noticed Jon came up to Diego and was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And me and Diego had planned to go out to lunch, right? Mm-hmm. He was gonna take me out to lunch. And Jon was like, "Hey, where are you guys going?" He's like, "Oh, we're going to Flying Star." Okay, we're gonna go too. And I didn't know what we are gonna go to meant, but apparently it meant Jon and his crew are gonna go, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still like, Jon, even in this scenario, Jon hasn't acknowledged me. Okay. Like,
he's just, who are you with again?
Diego Sanchez. Yeah. Like, he hasn't acknowledged me, right? Okay. So I'm like, this is going to be interesting. We'll see what happens here, right?
Yeah.
So we go to Flying Star, and Flying Star is a restaurant where you
Flying
order.
Star's the best.
So good, huh?
Yeah.
You order and then you go sit down, right? So we're in the line, maybe like 6, 7, 8 guys. And Jon's crew got there first, so they were in the front of me and Diego. And Jon goes to the first person in line, who's his friend. "Hey, what are you going to order?" "Oh, that sounds good. Hey, I got you. Like, I'll pay for your lunch," right? He does the second guy, third guy, fourth guy.
Yeah.
All the way to Diego. "Hey, what are you getting?" "Yeah, I got you, Diego." I was in the back of the line, and he goes, "Hey, Rich, what are you ordering?" "This is what I'm ordering." He's like, "I don't got you, bro."
First time he acknowledges you.
The first time he's ever acknowledged me, right? "I don't got you, bro." Stands up and starts to turn. And Diego pushed him. Diego Sanchez pushed him.
In line while you guys were right there?
Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, nah. I got us. And he defended me. He backed me up. He's like, "I got you, bro." And Jon, I didn't know what was going to happen. But because
Jon's kind of known for like doing crazy stuff in like bars and clubs and like,
yes,
right, and having let's say
yes,
lots of legal fees to make them go away.
Yeah,
those types of things, right?
And Diego's known to be wild too.
Is he?
He's crazy too. Yeah, like
Diego's
all in person, man. If he decides he's gonna back you up, he's gonna back you up.
Sounds like a loyal dude too.
He's loyal, man.
Yeah.
Like, this dude, this is a different cat. This is Diego Sanchez. He's the Ultimate Fighter 1 winner.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So like, anyhow, Jon ended up backing out. He ended up saying, "No, I was just kidding. And somehow, some way, we all ended up having lunch together.
Really?
I don't remember much of what was said. Somewhere along the lines of these two, Jon and Diego, were talking about, like, I think it was like being overconfident or something like that,
Yeah,
which is
sure.
kind of I mentioned that only because it's just funny to have those two guys discussing that, right?
Being overconfident.
Exactly. But yeah,
funny,
that's
dude.
the story. It's a true story.
That's
happened.
crazy. So a couple things that I like from that story is one that I just picked up on today. You knew what his weaknesses were going into it, but he was almost like so bullheaded, right? That he was just so bent on like being the guy that was like, yeah, who am I submitting today? Who am I getting tapped today? Who wants to lose? Right? But you're like, okay. So he didn't even realize that you were compromising him before it even started, right?
Had no idea. No idea.
Dude, that's wild. I mean, that's kind of cool because like you in a nutshell. It's not even about just like the competitiveness. You're like 5 steps ahead playing chess,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It was a losing situation for him from the start.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that at the end when Jon stormed out and left the gym, and when teammates were yelling at Jon, making fun of him, I should mention that Greg, for the first time in that whole time, did stand up after, chased after Jon and was like, "Hey, Jon, no, you're just a perfect matchup for Rich. You got super long legs." And I don't know what if they ever talked about that again, like Jon and Greg. But I know that Greg knew that. Greg knew from the beginning that was going to happen as well. And I sometimes wonder, like, why did Greg let that happen? Because if you're somebody's head coach and you see this happening, Like, what was Greg's thinking?
Well, especially if you know your guy's going to respond that way. Like, that could be pretty bad for his morale, right?
Yes.
Especially if you know that, like, the way Jon always wins is because he's just, like, stupid confident. Like, irrationally confident. Yeah. So if you let that confidence get shattered, like, that could be really bad for him, right? Yeah. Did his grappling get better after that?
You know what's wild, man? To this day, I have had tons of interactions with Jon, and he still never really acknowledges me.
Really?
Yeah, like, I went back... I guess I've been in Utah for a while now, but just before I moved to Utah, I know I'd went in, which would be around like 4 years ago or so. I went into Greg's, and Greg said, "Hey, why don't you teach the class for me?" And I said, "Absolutely." And it was the night pro class, and Jon was there. And then when we were grappling live, Jon little bit would acknowledge me, but still has never really
that's wild,
acknowledged me. And like, dude, to me, that's a different cat, man.
That's crazy. But it also is this, my second takeaway from that was, well, first was just the chess game you were playing, which is kind of funny, right? Because what do you always say in jiu-jitsu? It's not like, I weigh like 230 pounds right now. Even though I'm much bigger, the way to submit me is just to put how much do you weigh?
Right now, like 190.
Your 190 against my 230, pound for pound, is probably not going to go super well for you.
No.
But your 190 against this shin bone, right? Or against like these 3 ligaments, that's pretty good odds for you.
Exactly.
Your 190 against my bicep, or the bicep slicer, or your 190 against this vein in my neck, like. Yep. That's what you're trying to do, is play the game of leverage, right?
You're playing the game of leverage, and you're trying to put yourself in a position to win, right? Put yourself in.
Which you were doing from the beginning.
Which
and
from
he had no idea.
Yeah, he had no idea.
Yeah, he didn't even realize it. Second takeaway for me was, good or bad, that has to be the reason why he is... I mean, good or bad meaning morally.
Oh, yeah.
That characteristic of him... Like this, I call it failure amnesia with the crew that I work with. That has to be the reason why he is so good at fighting.
Yeah.
Because he just is like, that failure like doesn't exist for him. And you being involved in that failure, you don't exist for him, right? And so, I mean, he's so upset about that it's gone. It's like, I can't even acknowledge that that's real, because like I have to maintain the fact that I'm like this person or whatever. Do you think that's one of the reasons why he's so good?
Yeah.
So successful in the fighting realm?
Yeah, I think we all know the power of the mind and how important the mind is in any athletic event or on the battlefield, right?
Sure.
And like, I think that his mind is powerful, but I would counter that with your example in your jiu-jitsu journey is that, and then you also mentioned about 7 habits, about like, if you can't acknowledge your faults, where does that leave you as a human?
Right. And the thing, that's why I said good or bad morally. I don't know if that's necessarily moral per se, but going back to what you were saying before about extremes, analysis paralysis, for example, or taking anything to its extreme, is that actually good just for your life in general, right?
Right.